She's on the softball team at UNF.
Oh yeah. I know.
So I
You
mean,
remember?
this kind of goes under two things that I want to talk about. It's like, oh, it's about the TikTok I sent you too that you have no idea what
Then I have
that
no idea
meant.
what you're talking about.
Um, but no, like she used to take, she does take pictures, and I met her at I was shooting a volleyball game, and actually her mom came up to me first because she was like terrified to talk to me. So her
Mhm.
mom's like, "Oh, I'll go talk to him." So I met her mom, stuff like that, and she was asking me questions about her camera. Long story short, her parents upgraded her camera like this
Oh.
Christmas. So now she has a Sony A7 III, the camera I started off with, and she has a new lens, a Tamron 70-180. And so before she had that, like, you just have like the basic camera that people just pick up a camera and they're just like, oh, I'm going to go shoot as a hobby. Like, I'm
Mhm.
not looking for money. I'm just taking pictures. And jeez.
It's people, bro. My cousin, bro. Like I
But
can't. Okay.
no, so the point that I was making is like people always say like gear doesn't matter. Like you don't need to have the most expensive
Mhm.
like camera or lens. Well, technically you don't need the most expensive, but you need something pretty expensive, especially if you're trying to get paid. Like I feel
Yeah.
like that's where young photographers who are getting into the game or videographers think, oh, like, hey, Billy said my gear doesn't matter. I just need to focus on knowing the settings. And I'm like, if you're trying to get paid and trying to move up into the world and make a name for yourself, like you should probably make that investment and spend the money. And so going back to Logan is her parents invested in her and got her a new camera.
Mhm.
Now she pretty much works at the community college as their photographer for basketball. She'll probably do baseball. I mean,
Mhm.
with her schedule. So it's kind of like I don't. She would have never got that if she didn't upgrade her camera. So yeah, like
Yeah.
your gear does matter. Like I wouldn't have gotten places where I'm at without just forking up the money and just getting an expensive camera at first. Because then I would just I'm like, oh, my gear doesn't matter. I mean, if you're doing in studio photography, then you have lights and stuff, and then that doesn't really matter. But
Mhm.
if you're outside and you're doing sports, yeah, your gear matters. And if you want to take it seriously and you want to get paid and maybe work with a college or work for a high school or even like the NFL is probably not going to hire you. Granted, I don't work for the
Mhm.
NFL, never have, so I don't know. But I'm pretty sure they're going to be like, yeah, you need to upgrade your camera. Like,
Yeah.
we're
I
not
feel
going
like it
to.
comes down to like certain things in life, like where you need the better things. Like obviously like if you want to take good pictures, you need a better camera. But then it's like when people buy expensive clothes, it's like, "Oh, do you really need that? Or you're just trying to look cool?" Like things like that. But like
Yeah.
even basketball wise, like a lot of people say like, "Oh, it doesn't matter like what team you play on." Like when we're like in AAU or something, but like, I feel like at the end of the day it does like cuz it comes down to exposure. Like what team is like getting you the most exposure and taking you to events with the most college coaches, like stuff like that. I mean, you could be a 5-star playing on a bum team, but like if no coaches are seeing you really, like how's that really benefiting you? So it's like if you're an amazing photographer but you have a horrible camera, like how's it benefiting you at all? It's
Yeah,
not.
and you don't really know your potential until you
Yeah.
have that great camera. It's kind of like as you said with AAU. I mean, you make a great point. You could be a 5 star on a bum team and just dominate, but are you going to
Mhm.
be? But being a 5 star on a team with a bunch of 4 stars or 3 stars is like now
You
you
have a
can really show.
team.
Yeah, you have a
Yeah.
team and you're playing better competition.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
I mean that kind of falls in line. So you don't really know how good you are until you have, in my case, the equipment. In your case, when you're on a team with people almost as equal talented as you. And I feel like people get lost in that idea of, oh, gear doesn't matter. Oh, it does,
Mhm.
especially when money's involved.
That was like a really hard thing for me in high school. I played for two AAU teams, and like I started somewhere, switched, then went back to the other team, then went back to the other team. Like
So how does that?
it was a
But how does
big
that
deal.
work?
Like,
Like,
what do
do
you
you just like,
mean?
hey,
It was
like,
just it was bad. Yeah, like the first time was in seventh grade. I switched over. Yeah, seventh grade I switched over to the new team, and I my mom told the coach for me but it was kind of hard because like I worked on a food truck with him, like we were tight, and he wouldn't speak to me, like dead over. And then seventh grade I played for this other team, and then I kind of just was like, dang, like I'm kind of I don't want to say I miss the other like I missed the old organization leader kind of. Like everything was about me. Not to be selfish, but it was like everything was about me and like I wanted to go back there, like I felt like a family, and the other team I didn't really feel like I fit in because they were playing with each other for a while. So then I went back to the other team. But the thing is when I left I took two of my friends with me. But then they ended up staying. So then I went back for eighth and ninth grade, and then I'm a ninth grader, and I see like, oh, everyone on the old team is getting offers and getting seen, and like my team isn't even being put in that position. And it was kind of just like, dang, I had to make another hard decision. So like called my coach again. Well, now it's me. I'm grown now. I'm in high school. And it was just like I told him, and he just said like okay. And it kind of like really broke my heart because it was like, dang, like that's all you have like I mean it's like what do I want him to say, but it's kind of like that's all you had to say to me. And like he helped make me who I am, and I'll always admit to that, but it was like just like how he reacted, I was kind of like, oh, like it made me feel horrible.
I mean,
And
what did you expect him to do?
I mean, kind of just be like, "Oh, like I wish you the best," like
Mm,
stuff like that. It's like I would be with this man every single day. Like I worked for him on a food truck. Like we traveled to other like cities together, like with my mom and my other teammates and my coaches. Like it's like AAU is like really a family. And so then it was kind of just like, okay, like I think you're making the wrong choice. And I'm like, oh
okay.
well.
Mm,
And then hang up, whatever, over with. And then I go back to the other team. And I still, to this day, have not spoken to my old coach. Like, kind of, he hates me and my mom. But now the new organization, like, I went back, and that's where I feel like I grew the most, like, as a player. And I got exposure to things I needed, and they set me up for success. And, like, I'm like, I had to make a
business
choice for
decision.
myself. Yeah, and make a business decision. Like, fun and games, attention, or exposure and getting up becoming a better player. And that's like kind of what it came down to. And my current like my last AAU team that I like ended up playing for, he always gets on me about like leaving the program. He was like, I woke up on a Sunday morning and you just said you were gone. I was like, sorry. He was like, no, I'll forever be like, he's like, I never hated you. He was like, it's your choice, you're your own person, but I'm very happy you came back. And I was like, nice. Like that's how it's supposed to be. That's
Yeah,
how a grown man's supposed to talk to a
child,
ninth grader. Yeah, like are we
a
joking?
child. But you have, but yeah,
A child.
I,
Like
yeah,
imagine
I
how
work
that
with
makes
ninth
someone
graders.
feel. Yeah.
Oh,
My
I
mom
know.
was so mad. She was like, cause I like cried about it. I was like, dang.
Yeah, because you would expect him to support you, but then he's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, no.
It was like you knew me since fifth grade. Like I've known you for 4 years.
But do
Actually,
you
since
think?
fourth.
But do you think like with coaches, and I don't know if you would know this,
Mm-hmm.
or you might because
I
it is
probably
you.
will.
Do you think he thought like, oh, this is gonna be my best player that I've ever had? And
Well, there's so much. There's so much stuff
I
behind a
feel
lot of
like
this.
there's like a
But
lot of
like,
layers to it.
there's a lot of layers to it because it
But
was
like
like,
in
yeah, I was one of the like,
top
yeah, I was
players.
his top player, like who he kind of like depended on and like wanted there. And I remember our last game, like where I was already thinking about leaving. It was our last game we lost, and he like hugged me and was like, I just want you to know like whatever decision you end up making, like I love you, like I'll always support you. And I'm like just bawling my eyes out. And then it's like I finally made that phone call, which took a lot out of me as a ninth grader. And like I mean I still have issues like with that stuff today. And then it was like you completely retracted what you said to me the last time we
Yeah.
talked about this.
And
Like
I
you were
feel
like,
like
you'll always support me. And I feel like he only did that to make me stay, like to make me feel
yeah,
comforted. And then I left, and then he did end up getting a really good player. She plays at Villanova now. She's amazing. And she became like the new face of the program. And I was like, and then it was like, forget about you. Like,
yeah. But I mean,
bye.
does
I
that
left,
make
but it
you,
was, doesn't make me
I
what?
mean, does that make you not as vulnerable as you want to be? Because you said that that took a lot out of you.
I
Because
mean, yeah,
being
like
a ninth grader,
it's a hard conversation to have, like, but I think it's kind of something my mom has like taught me, like, you have to have the hard conversation. Like, it's always easier to just send a text message, but like, it's the mature thing to make the phone call. And
yeah,
I've had to, this last year, I had to make a lot of phone calls, and I would be sick to my stomach about it. But it's like, you don't, I also feel like you lose connections and respect without the phone call. And like that
yeah,
was a really hard thing for me to do. Like I was like, I really don't want to do this. My mom would be like, you have to. I'd be like, well,
yeah.
thanks.
But I
But
mean, that
yeah.
kind of sets you up for, I mean, we haven't talked about it. I mean, we don't have to get into it, but kind of like,
I
I mean, this past
already
year,
know what you're about to say. Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I'm
So, I
talking
mean,
about, the hard conversations.
yeah, I feel like that's like a, we should save that for another time. But I mean, that if you didn't do that when you're ninth, let's say your mom's like, oh, just send a text, maybe everything after that would have been different.
Mm-hmm. No,
And
yeah,
maybe
and
you would not be at UNF currently right now.
yeah,
Or maybe you
and
would just as a student, just because you
mm-hmm.
didn't pick up a phone call or you didn't make a phone call.
Make a phone call, go talk face to face. Like, it
Yeah,
would make me like, I remember I would call my brother and I'd be like, I can't do it. And he was like, you can. He's like, it's gonna suck, but you can do it. And I'd be like,
yeah.
yeah.
But I
But
mean, it is hard to have those hard conversations. Like, I mean, even like when it's like the hardest conversation to have as someone that makes stuff is asking about money. Like that is
mm-hmm.
the
I bet
hardest
that.
part. I mean, usually if they bring it up, then it's cool. But then like you get clients and so like you'll get a client that starts with you when you're not maybe at your peak. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying I'm at my peak, but you're not where you are. And but you have this great relationship. So like you're buying new equipment, your your videos, your pictures are getting better, and now you're like, I feel like I'm worth more. But this person gave me a good chance. They started with me. They're like, hey, and I mean they paid you pretty well for what you were, and it's kind of like, okay, now I have to ask for more money, and
Yeah.
it's kind of it gets awkward. But I mean, um, as someone who wants to make more money, you have to, especially with the clients that you consider as family. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
know you're not supposed to tell clients that, oh yeah, we're like family, but
Yeah.
it's I'm not in it as like a hardcore businessman, but I mean, if I can make a friend or make an acquaintance with someone to feel like, hey, I'm pretty close with them, then yeah, I'm going to. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
still, I mean, I think I've learned from that experience, you learn like, hey, it is business first, but then we can move past that. And a lot of clients are pretty good with like, hey, I understand. Like, you're
Yeah.
worth every penny, or hey, let's negotiate. Like, I understand, like, your stuff's getting better. You're providing us more stuff. Like, let's figure out a middle. And I think that's another way to be able to keep clients is, having that rapport with them and not just saying,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, my price is my price." Like, don't message me. Granted,
Yeah.
I have a full-time job, so I'm not like a lot of people who this is their life. This is what they do.
Yeah.
Like they depend on that. This is my price, and I get it. Like maybe I might be a problem that makes it harder for those people who say this is my price because then I'm like, oh well, we can finagle it a little bit. Um, so I think hard conversations, especially getting into business in general, like even grant tutoring, I'm not a social person. Like I'm very awkward. Like I know I come off as like I'm a very confident person, but I am in person, no, not at all. Awkward is my middle name, hence awkwardly surprised. Um, so yeah, I think in your case, as a young adult at your age, having that conversation, I think that has suited you very well. Your mom has taught you well.
She has. Yes, she has.
So,
She's
um,
mature.
yeah, it's ninth grade, and then getting told like, "Hey, fuck off." Yeah,
Yeah.
it's difficult.
And then
I
like,
feel like
but it mainly got taken out on my mom, and then that's why like I kind of like he didn't really like say a lot of like the hurtful things to me. Like he said a lot of hurtful things to my mom, and that's why it's kind of like, dang, like how much did you really care about us then? Like,
he saw you as a meal ticket,
yeah, literally. But it's okay. Part of life. Live
but
and you learn.
I think it's funny because you said that he cried. It's like he semi knew like what was coming, but he didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
accept it. And then when it
Well, because I
happened,
think he knew like I should go be somewhere that's gonna help me in the future. Like, and
yeah,
like that's what I wanted to do.